What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Here we are with another reaction video, and in this one we have culture shock in England. 10 things that shock Americans. USA versus England. Before we jump into these 10 things that will shock Americans, I want you guys, if you happen to enjoy the video, to make sure that you jump into that subscribe button, give a video a thumbs up. Let's find out what's so shocking.
Hey guys, I'm Eric.
And I'm Grace. We're the Wandering Ravens.
And today we are going to tell you 10 things that were culture shock for us when we arrived here in England.
Let's do it.
The first thing that shocked us when we arrived in England was just how many foreigners there are in London.
We'd always heard that London was multicultural, but just the extent of foreigners that were there was really shocking to us. And not in a bad way. It was just surprising because when we were coming to England, we're like, oh, there's probably going to be a lot of English people and we'll be hearing lots of English. But when we were in public, about 90% of the languages we were hearing around us were foreign languages and not English.
Pretty much everywhere was represented in London, so that was really cool. And to just hear all of the different languages, because we feel like, I mean, Seattle's pretty multicultural as well, but not to the extent of London. Like,
no way.
Just all of the languages and everyone speaking different languages in like the restaurants. We'd be sitting at our table and each table was speaking a different language. This
happened every time we went
Yeah, pretty much every time. There'd be like the table of Koreans. We could always hear them because
Korea!
We understand a tiny bit of Korean, so we were like,
we lived in Korea for 2 years, for those of you who don't know.
The Koreans,
so awesome.
French people, Eastern European people, just everywhere. Number two!
I think that one is a culture shock for me, because a surprising one for me, because I watched a lot of UK videos and I hadn't heard that about London, but it would make sense. I feel like London is a place that so many people from around the world want to visit or live in or travel to, either or. But I think it's really cool. I can't imagine, like, if I was going to London, I would imagine being surrounded by a lot of like English speaking people. But she's saying they're out in public in London and you hear so many conversations that are actually foreign languages to them. And I think that's just really cool. You got London as a big melting pot, it sounds like, of diversity of different languages, of different people, different nationalities from around the world. That's very fascinating.
Ooh, the subways are really small. It was actually shocking because our experience with subways is in Korea and Japan, and these subways are very wide. There's lots of standing room. They're also very tall, but the tube, as it's called in London, actually looks kind of like a tube. Yeah, it made sense.
It's like not tall, or at least the ones that we rode on were not tall, like all the way across on the ceiling, but it's kind of like
a box
curved or whatever.
Oh,
you know, it's kind of like curved. Maybe not all of them are that way, but the ones that we rode on were that way. So it was interesting.
It was just surprising and shocking how small the tube was, at least the tubes that we rode.
Speaking of tubes, that brings us
I feel like the one that they were in did look pretty small, and if it's one thing that I don't like doing while I'm traveling, is standing up. I can't stand in one spot for long. If I'm up on my feet, I need to be moving. If I'm standing, my ankles get slaughtered. So hopefully wherever you're at on the tube is not a long ride, or that you get in there fast enough to get a seat.
To number 3. I love how English people wait patiently for people who are on the tube to get off before getting on the tube themselves. That is something after living in Korea for a couple years, you'll know that is not the case. As soon as the subway doors open and the train stops, everyone in Korea is just like pushing everybody else and getting on the subway as fast as they can. So it was nice to go to a place where everyone just stands aside and waits for those people who are on the train to get off, which is what should happen.
This is actually so shocking that the very first time we rode the tube, when the doors opened and everyone was waiting for people to get off, Grace turned to me and made that observation. She's like, oh my gosh, they're waiting for people to get off. What is this?
Madness.
Number 4.
I feel like when it comes to things such as this, the UK, England, London, it's very organized in a sense of like queuing for things. We know the UK is the greatest country of queuers in the world. But when it comes to queuing to things, when it comes to them now waiting for the people to get off and then going in, as I said in Korea, where that was not the case, where and I feel like here it wouldn't be the case. I feel like as people are getting you going in at the same time, because if you ask me, I'm trying to get a seat in there as quick as possible. When I get in there, I'm trying to sit down. And if I wait, I don't want to be left having to stand up, hold on to this pole until we get to the destination. So, I want to get in there and get a seat as possible. But shout out to London. Everybody's patient, wait. But that they're organized like that. That's how they do things.
This is just a really quick one, but light switches here are different than they are in the States. And whereas in the States and Korea and other countries, you flip on to turn the light switch
You
on.
flip up, yeah.
Flip up to turn it on. And flip down to turn it off. Here,
it's the opposite.
Yeah, from what we've seen, you flip up to turn it off and flip down to turn it on.
Number 5.
That's
the other
interesting.
thing that we found surprising when we arrived in England was that power outlets have to be switched on to use them. So it has like a little switch next to it and you have to turn it on in order to use electronic appliances. So many times we've tried to boil like hot water for tea or coffee.
Or charge my phone.
And you forget to switch the power outlet on and it doesn't charge or the water doesn't boil and you're like,
Yeah,
I
that'd
don't
be
like
frustrating.
that though because as I heard someone say the other day, it prevents like children from sticking things into the sockets and getting electrocuted. So I like that idea.
And then also, like in America, when we go on vacation or something like that, you have to run around the house and unplug everything so it doesn't.
Exhausting.
So it's not a fire hazard.
Or even like every night you try to like unplug it, you know?
Yeah. Here, you just turn the outlets off. So that's actually kind of cool. It was shocking, but it's kind of cool, and we'll probably try to do that on our own house one day.
Yeah, I like that.
Number 6.
I've always liked that, seeing that in different videos. The ability to turn your power switch on and off. I mean, going on vacation and all that, I still won't like unplug everything. I'm just leave it plugged in. And I guess it is like a leaking electricity, charging a little bit of money, but I'm not there. But yeah, I just like that UK has that where you're able to turn the switch on and off. That's really dope.
Something else that has been a little shocking for us is that tipping here is a bit different than back in the States. Whereas in the States, when you go to a restaurant, any receipt that you get is going to have a tip line where you write the tip. Here at restaurants, they don't have that. And most cafes don't even have a tip jar. And so it's been really confusing for us to figure out what we do for tipping.
Yeah.
I've heard also that tipping is super minimal here. Like if at all, it's like just really minimal. So that's definitely different than America, where as a server you're like 20% or you're a bad table sort of.
Yeah.
Question though, for the English folk in the audience, when I'm at a restaurant and they give me a receipt that doesn't have a tip line or anything on it, what am I supposed to do? Do I tip, or is that just like a no tip? Yeah, do you leave it on the table, or is that just like we all agree that there's no tipping going on in this situation? Please let me know down in the comments so I don't make any social faux pas.
Number 7, real quick.
No social faux pas. Yeah, tipping. I think it's so many other countries. I feel like America one of the only countries. You may not be the only, but I feel like most countries actually pay their servers like a wage where they don't have to receive tips. I'll say most developed countries because I don't know about other countries. But yeah, pay their servers a wage where they don't depend on tips to survive. Yet it's on the company to provide these workers with a livable wage. But here in the U.S., we do it backwards, where you're a bad customer if you don't tip. So they put it on the responsibility of the customers to pay these people a living wage, which is very backwards to me. It's very dumb to me. I know it helps the company profit more, and 100%. I guess a lot of these servers be making good money. These waiters and waitresses, because people gonna tip that 20%. People gonna give them that money, depending on where you work. I guess a lot of them make really good money as waiters and waitresses, but there are a lot of them that don't make good money as waiters and waitresses. So yeah, tipping culture. I don't like tipping culture. I don't like tipping because I'm already paying for my food. Now I gotta pay for somebody else to serve me. I've never been a fan of that. So I like the way the UK does it.
I was just going to mention that in grocery stores here in England, they generally have a much larger selection of cheese than they do back home in the States, which I'm not going to complain about. I love that.
Yeah.
I think it's just a lot more in the culture here, I guess, than it is back home. Whereas back home, you usually only have like a couple different kinds of cheese to choose from, and
Cheddar,
not like
Gouda.
Yeah, not like mozzarella or Parmesan.
Mozzarella, yeah.
Not like specialty cheeses. Here you'll have like many different types, and there'll be different ages as well.
Number 8.
That's so dope. As a man who loves cheese, I rock with that.
This is one you hear a lot, probably, but we don't know which direction to look when we cross the road. And this is for a couple of reasons. One, people here drive on the left side of the road, and so that's confusing. But two, there are also a ton of one-way streets here, both in London and in the villages that we've been in and towns. Lots of one-way streets that aren't obvious one-way streets. And so when we cross, it is so confusing to know
which way to look.
And so
it's quite dangerous, actually.
Yeah.
You know, like, I am in fear of being struck by an automobile. That sounded ridiculous.
That was it.
Yeah.
We're working on our
English accent.
That wasn't an English accent. That was just me.
Sounding like an English person.
In London, though, there is a nice, I think it's so polite and courteous how they put on the ground, like, look this way.
Yeah.
It's so funny. Before crossing the street, there's like paint on the sidewalk that says, look left, or look right, or look both ways. And so I thought that was kind of cool. I was like, oh.
That was really good.
These English folk have our back.
They know we're stupid.
Number 9.
On that one, I just feel like, to me, you just in case, if you don't know, just look both ways. Like, do you see cars coming from either way? Then don't cross the street. Or there no cars coming from either way? Then cross the street. But I've never been to London, and so that's just me assuming it would be that easy. It could be completely different. It could be a more complicated thing to where I would, if I was there trying to cross the street, I could feel how they felt. Y'all talk to me in the comment section about that. How complicated is it to cross the street? Is looking both ways not enough, or how? Y'all talk to me, please. I need to know.
This is more of a question, but it was also a very big culture shock. Why are there 2 separate spigots for hot and cold water? This, like, somebody please explain. I don't understand this. Like, do you want to wash your hands in freezing cold water and not kill any of the germs? I don't know if that's correct, but whatever, that's what I think. Or do you want to scald yourself so that you can't even feel and then you have to be fed by your husband for the next few days? Like, choose.
It was very confusing. Wisely. And this is not just something we've seen in homes, but we've seen it in museums, in churches, in cafes, and restaurants.
Like everywhere in the restroom. It's 2 separate.
2 separate spigots. And you get scalding hot water or you get freezing cold water.
And so, like, what I was doing, I know this is ridiculous, but I was just like throwing them together and like... Somebody explain. Because somebody's got an explanation for why this is better, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Explain it to us.
It's not.
Number 10. It was.
I thought it had something to do with history. Like, we know the UK was a country long before US ever existed, and so I guess that's how they were built in the UK. That's how the faucets were built, and so I think I saw in a different video that had something to do with the history of how everything was built and everything, and that's why they do it. And there are more that are now going to like that one system where hot and cold, one faucet, but there still are a lot of 2 faucets, a hot faucet and cold faucet. But y'all talk, if I'm wrong, please strike me down in the comment section. If I'm right, just give me a thumbs up. We'll go with that.
Shocking to us how much people jaywalk here. We had been warned by friends that, hey, just so you know, in London, it's okay to jaywalk. But when we came here, it was just surprising to see how frequently everyone jaywalks. Literally, everyone jaywalks all the time. Yeah, it's constant jaywalking. And we're coming from Seattle, which is, I think, in the United States, we are famous for being a city that no one jaywalks in. So it was really shocking to come to England and no one, it's just like
constant jaywalking.
Look, run. Look, run.
Which makes you feel extremely stressed out as foreigners because we don't know which way to look. So we're like, oh, we can't just wait for this light, which is gonna last forever. We should jaywalk. But then we don't know which direction the cars are coming from, so if we jaywalk, we might die. So it's kind of like...
And then you know who the foreigners are, because they're the ones that are waiting for the light.
Oh.
Wow. Thank you guys so much for watching. We hope you enjoyed this video. If you've ever visited England, do drop a comment down below and let us know what culture shocks shocked you. I'd love to hear what your experience visiting this country was like. And if you liked this video, make sure you hit that like button so that YouTube shows this to more people.
And subscribe down below so that you can get more travel in your life.
Listen.
Hitting the subscribe button will make sure that our travel videos and more videos about England, culture shock, budget travel will show up in your subscription feed. See you guys next time. Is that it? Are we done?
Yes. Cheers.
Cheers.
Listen to them too about hitting that like button, about subscribing. But yeah, jaywalking. I mean, that's my kind of people. London, you're my kind of people. Hey, I'm looking both ways. And if I feel like I can get across that street before a car gets to me, then I'm going. I'm going for it. I'm not waiting for the light. I'm going for it because I see an opening and I feel like I got a pretty good perception of how fast that car is going to get here. So yeah, there were a couple of these that were actual shocks to me. I guess I didn't really know too much about the tube. I knew they had the tube. I knew they had great public transportation. I didn't know kind of how small it was. I didn't know, hey, they wait there. I should have known that they wait patiently for those to get off and then they go in. Which other ones? There was one that I really didn't know. Let's go back. Internationals. That was the one that really shocked me the most. That there were that much foreigners in London to where they're out in public and 90% of their conversations that they hear are in a foreign language. That kind of blew my mind because I would not have guessed that in a million years. But I think that's really dope. Hopefully, one day I'll get the chance to visit London and other cities in the UK and just get to travel for a little bit. I think that would be super exciting. That's all we have. If you guys enjoyed that, please don't forget to subscribe, give the video a thumbs up. I'll see y'all next time.